All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We're excited to have you and to share with you about the new Lead Learning portal for advisory organizations nationwide. We have some very special guests on the call today, which we'll get to very shortly. But first, just a couple of housekeeping items. You are, as an attendee, you are automatically muted for this webinar. If you have questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. We will have some time for questions at the end, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. And we want to kick off the call by getting a little bit more information about you. So we're going to do a quick poll question. We want to know, how long have you been in Salvation Army, whether that's as an advisory organization member, an officer, or a staff member? So just go ahead and enter your answer, and we'll kind of get a feel for who we have joining us today. Awesome, already seeing those answers coming through. All right, great. So we've got over half of you, more than 10 years, which is wonderful to see. And then, another number of folks from 1 year up to 10 years. So lots of different levels of experience and history with the Salvation Army, and we're excited to have all of you. As I mentioned, we have some special guests on the call today. The first one is our National Commander, Commissioner Kenneth Hodder, who has joined us to talk a little bit about his vision and the excitement he has for this new Lead Learning initiative. So Commissioner, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks very much, Katie. Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you today. I want to thank you personally for your participation in this significant event for the Salvation Army. I know that we have people from across the country joining us, everyone from my friend Captain Ken Chapman and his advisory board chair, Tim Osborne in Orlando, Florida, all the way over to another good friend, Major Phil Lum, and his advisory board chair, Carlton Williams in Honolulu, Hawaii, and all points in between. Thank you so much for joining us. Friends, it will come as no surprise to you that the Salvation Army is trying and indeed committing itself to a new means by which to strengthen its advisory boards, councils, and auxiliaries across the country today. The Salvation Army has a tradition of using all tools at its disposal to develop its ministry, and today is a great example of that. And it couldn't come at a more important time. The Salvation Army knows that it is facing, from now through the next few years, what we are referring to as pandemic poverty. By that we mean that we recognize that the economic dislocation for many across the country will last far longer than the health risks associated with the pandemic. This matches a pattern that we saw after the Great Recession in 2008 and 2009. When the number of people coming to the Salvation Army increased in 2010 through 2012. So we're anticipating a very busy time in the next few years at the Salvation Army. Match that with the fact that people, if not now, will be in the near future facing an eviction crisis. And we want to ensure that the Army is ready to keep as many people in their homes as possible. There's going to be a need for food in the days to come. And above all of these things, a need for hope. The Salvation Army is uniquely equipped to address all of these. But there is no better time at which to strengthen our advisory organizations in terms of meeting those needs than right now. So the learning, education, and development platform is going to be absolutely critical to what the Salvation Army does in the next few years. I'm very grateful to the members of our National Advisory Board, to our friends at LinkedIn, and to everyone who's been involved in making this tremendous step forward possible. As I believe the participation in this platform is going to be a part of the standards of excellence that we set for advisory organizations across the country. Now, I want to put this platform into the context that you will understand. We recognize that every Salvation Army across the country will have its own detailed strategic plan for the achievement of what the Salvation Army needs to do in your particular community. That's why at the national level, the Commissioners' Conference, together with the National Advisory Board, has established 5 strategic focus areas that we think should inform what advisory organizations and Army units across the country pursue in the next few years. The first of these 5 C's, as we call them, is collaboration. We need to maximize opportunities both internally and externally for collaboration with other units, with other organizations to meet human need. Second, communication. Communication, particularly over the course of the past year, has become a critical issue. So the Salvation Army needs to focus its resources so as to amplify our message and advance the mission. Third is clarification. We need to ensure that everyone who works with the Salvation Army or who is served by us has a full understanding not only of our work, but about why we do this work. Fourth, we need to increase our capacity. We need to make sure that we are eliminating structural impediments internally toward the achievement of our Salvation Army mission. We should embrace innovation. We have a fine history of innovation in the Salvation Army, and it's critical that we remove any barriers to seeing that flourish in every way. And fifth, composition. We want the Salvation Army in this country at every level to reflect the people who we serve and the people who worship as a part of our congregations. We need to realize the full promise of diversity, both within and outside the Salvation Army. These 5 C's are the keys behind what is going on here today and is happening across the country in various Salvation Army units. It's an exciting time for us, and I'm glad that you're a part of it. I have with me today some good friends that I'd like to talk with about what the LEAD Learning Platform is going to mean for the Salvation Army, both here at National Headquarters and in your community. I'm delighted to have with me our National Advisory Board Chairman, Mr. Mike Castling, and the Chairman of the Advisory Organization Development Committee, Mr. Bob Smith. The Advisory Organization Development Committee has been critical to developing this tool, and Mike, of course, has been leading all of the activities of the National Advisory Board. So I'll begin with him. Mike, it's great to have you with me here today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being a part of this and for your leadership at the national level. Mike, I've just been sharing with our friends the 5 C's, our strategic focus areas, because I believe it's important that they know what the Salvation Army is looking to focus on in the years to come. These focus areas are not just for officers and they're not just for soldiers, but they're also for advisory organizations. Can you talk a little bit about how the 5 C's are being implemented at the National Advisory Board?
Absolutely. And as you said, this is not just for officers or staff, but this is for starting at the National Advisory Board, but for all advisory organizations across the country. So a couple areas we're really focused on. You talk about composition. As you talk about that across the U.S., that's equally important as we look at the National Advisory Board. So we're really looking at growing diversity across our board. We're also looking to add new members, not only in diversity, but also business leaders across the country that can really drive and help the capacity. And also we'll talk, the other one is collaboration. And it's really, as a board, making those connections with the Salvation Army, with key foundations and key businesses across the country to collaborate as you talk about dealing with the eviction, the homelessness, and everything that's going on with the pandemic. So really using our network to help you collaborate more with the right people across the country. Probably the biggest one is communication, which you talked about. And really there, we're doing a lot more to update the National Advisory Board as well as officers around the country of what we're doing with a lot more internal messaging. The other thing which I'm really excited about, and Bob knows about this, is, you know, traditionally we only had 3 meetings during the year, but now we're really pushing the committees to meet in between time so we continue to drive the mission of the Salvation Army moving forward. And honestly, this platform, which Bob will talk about, is absolutely something we've been working on for years. It's absolutely critical to drive that communication across not only with officers and staff, but advisory organizations across the country. So I'm really excited about that, excited about what the 5 C's are helping us to do as a National Advisory Board, as well as some of these outcomes that we're getting with this technology, which we'll talk about.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mike. The Salvation Army can't do what the Salvation Army is called to do in any part of the country unless it has a strong advisory organization behind it. And that's why the learning platform is so important. I know that there's a specific goal that we have in mind with respect to advisory organizations. Can you share that with us?
Yep. And first I'll say to your point, I think we've seen, and as we pull data across the country, the strongest Salvation Army units across the country have strong advisory organizations to support them and back them locally. So that's absolutely critical. Our goal is by 2022 that all Salvation Army units have a functional advisory organizations behind them. And then from there, we want to grow those and make them stronger and stronger. And I think we'll talk about this, this platform, but I think that's going to be critical and key to driving that and driving the joint success of the Salvation Army nationally.
You have set a very, very high goal to have functioning. That's a lot to achieve by 2022. But as I think everyone is familiar with in the call by this point, if we don't do that, the Army is not going to be able to do what the Army needs to do for the country. Bob, you're obviously the one who's going to have to push this particular goal forward in order to ensure that every Salvation Army unit has the advisory organization capabilities that it needs. This lead learning platform is going to be key to that. How do you see it working into the achievement of that goal?
Well, and thank you for having me on the call. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone. This has been a conversation that we've been having for several years about how we as a National Advisory Board can help advisory units across the organization, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South. And, we never really had a platform or a way to do that. One where each of the territories can share in it. And so this allows us the opportunity to reach out to all the different advisory organizations across the country and their leaders and provide them with learning content. This is an online learning platform and it is easy to use. We can edit and change the learning topics as we develop them. It's a way to reach all the organizations that work within the Salvation Army. And I'm excited about it because we've talked about it for so long and I can't wait for it to actually launch.
Yeah, it really is terrific. I know that we recently held a session with the National Advisory Board on Salvation Army 101, which is one of the first modules in the learning platform. And many of the National Advisory Board members said that they learned a great deal about what the Salvation Army is and how it functions across the country. Bob, if you had this sort of a platform available to you when you first started as a Salvation Army Advisory Board member, how would it have affected your service, do you think?
That is a great question. And I think no matter how many years of service anyone on the call has with the Salvation Army, I've served at the local level and as well now on the national level. But when you come into the Salvation Army on the local level and you've never had an opportunity to either volunteer for them or understand how our organizations work, it's a learning curve. It's a steep learning curve, especially for those of us that come from a for-profit world. And I'll give you one quick example on how this platform would have helped me in 2013 when I first joined, and understanding the finances of the Salvation Army. When you come from a for-profit company or a public company, the finances for the Salvation Army are not on an accrual system. So it's very difficult and it takes some time to understand that process and how that works for the Salvation Army. And it works for the Salvation Army. We have to get on board with that. But that would have helped me understand a little bit more about how the Salvation Army works and probably would have sped up my learning process. It's just one small thing, and there are so many other topics that can be covered through, Salvation Army 101. And we do appreciate everyone's feedback on that module. And there's probably some folks on the call today that have contributed to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll come back to you, Mike, if I may. One thing that we've talked about, I know in the past few months, is trying to structure some standards of excellence for Salvation Army advisory organizations. And I know Bob's committee is going to be working on that. How do you see the development of that taking place? Obviously, it's going to mean not only forming new groups, but upgrading some of our advisory organizations.
Well, and I think we know across the country, there's a lot of amazing advisory organizations that are functioning at a very high level. I've been on Omaha's advisory board for 25 or so years, and it's a very strong board. And I think there's those across the country just like that. And I think we can take those best practices and learn. And even as Bob, I've been on Bob's committee for a number of years now too. As we go around the country to meet with people, we ask for their advisory boards to come in and talk about what's going well and what's going bad. And there's so many great ideas that we pick up at each city. So it's really allowing us to use this tool and other tools to teach what are the best practices and how do we get to being an excellent advisory organization.
Yeah, so different organizations across the country will be able to contribute content?
Absolutely.
It's going to be a terrific step forward.
Yeah.
Well,
and even if, I mean, look at what we do at NAOC, which is some of the best practices across the country, you know, for programming or whatever. Just think about what we can do with this system to be able to do that NAOC best practices all the time, all year long, every year, in and out.
And that's correct, Mike, because that's really coming out of the conversations around NAOC really started to drive this process a lot faster to get to a learning platform that we can use that information and share that even more so with advisory organizations across the country.
This will truly be a game changer, I believe, for the Salvation Army, the officers, staff, and advisory organizations.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to allow officers and their advisory organization personnel to work closer together than they ever have before. And it will unify the nation in a way that we've never had the opportunity to do before. I can't thank you both enough for everything that you've been doing to make this possible. And I think the time may be right to turn it back to Katie, to ask Katie to walk us through a little bit about what the platform looks like.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. And again, thank you, Mike and Bob, for joining today and just helping to share in the vision of this lead learning platform and your excitement for it. We really appreciate it. I am going to get into a tutorial of how to actually use the new system and what you can expect to find. But before we do that, I just want to get some more feedback from our audience. So we've now talked a bit, heard from the Commissioner about the 5 C's. So we want to know, which of the 5 C's do you believe your current advisory organization excels at exhibiting? Communication, composition, collaboration, capacity, clarification. Which of these do you think your advisory organization currently is really just killing it? There's lots of collaboration, communication, some capacity. All right, great. Lots and lots of collaboration, which we love to hear about. All right, on the flip side, which of the 5 C's do you think your advisory organization could use more training and development? Which one could be stronger? We want to know which areas to focus on for future courses that we will develop for lead learning. Some composition, capacity. All right, all across the board, but it seems like composition and capacity are taking the lead there. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing that feedback. We will take note of that and put that into our planning for the future. Now we are going to hop into a tutorial for the platform. So give me just 1 second and we'll get started. All right, so I'm going to go over a number of things this afternoon: how to create your account on the Lead Learning portal, how to update your profile, complete courses, and provide feedback to us. Your feedback is really, really important. You know, those of you that have received this invitation, you're part of our very first round of users. You've been selected by your territories. So we really are looking forward to having you get into the system and provide feedback both on the course content and the navigation of the system itself so we can make it even better moving forward. So to get started with creating an account, the URL that will be used for the Lead Learning platform is www.thesalvationarmy.csod.com. You will get an email shortly after this call that will have a link directly to the login page. But just in case you want to save this URL for the future, that is what it is, thesalvationarmy.csod.com. you'll use the option that says self-register, and you'll be able to enter your email address and create a password that will be saved so that moving forward you can use it to log in. And you can see that right here. This is a screenshot when you visit www.thesalvationarmy.csod.com. This is what you will see. We are utilizing the Cornerstone Learning Management System for lead learning. So when you first navigate, this is the view that you will get. You're in the right place. And again, you'll just click that self-register button to create your account. Once you've done that, this is what it'll look like when you click self-register. Just ask for your first and last name, your email address, and then it'll have you create a password. And you can save that information so you know how to log in the future. Once you log in, you'll be brought to what's called the Learner home page. This is where you'll be able to find courses, view the progress that you've made on various courses, and also see any updates if we have uploaded a new round of courses, or maybe there's a special video that is online. You'll be able to see some updates there. So this is what that Learner homepage looks like. Your profile, we'll go over this in a minute, but you can see on the left there, it'll have a picture if you choose to upload one. It'll show you how many hours of courses you've completed. You can choose certain subjects that you're interested in, so you can get updates about new courses in those areas. And a lot of other options. And then that center area, the main part, that's where the top banner will give you updates about new things that are available on the platform. And then as you scroll down, there will be featured and recommended courses, as well as once you start a course, it'll come up in that continue learning section. So every time you log in, you can remember what you were working on and go back to it. We'll go into this a little bit further. As I said here on the left, this is your learner profile. Has all of your kind of personal learning preferences. The search bar at the top is what you'll use to find different learning materials. The Salvation Army National Headquarters, we are working with the territories to develop our own courses specific to advisory organizations, but through this platform, you also have access to hundreds of other courses in multiple languages through Cornerstone. So we'll go into that in a little bit later in the call, but that is where you can use the search bar to find things you may be interested in. And then, as I mentioned, courses that you start will be here in the continue learning section. And this little, I call it a hamburger menu, these three little lines in the top right corner, that's where you're going to find a lot of other options to navigate around the portal. So let's talk about how to update your profile if you want to add a photo or select the subjects that are of interest to you, and also provide a summary, a brief bio, so that other people can see who's on the platform, network, and connect. You'll go back to that little hamburger menu I mentioned in the top right corner. You'll click on My Account at the very bottom, and it will take you to a page that looks like this. This is where you can change your photo. There's a small arrow you may see in that box on the left, and you can click on that and it'll say change or delete. You can upload your photo there. If you click on the options button in the top right, that is where if you ever need to update the email address or password associated with your account, that's where you can do that. And then, so that was through the My Account option at the bottom of that menu. If you go to Profile a little bit further up, that's where you can add your interested subjects. As you can see, I've already selected quite a few. There's some general ones that are available through Cornerstone, like leadership and management, communication, and then there also are, we've added Salvation Army specific subjects as well. So advisory organization development, orientation, officer and board relations, echelon. So you can really take a look, it's a long list, and pick out which subjects you're interested in. And you'll get updates from Cornerstone when there are new courses in those areas that have been brought up, or they may use that to help recommend courses to you. If you want to add a summary, you can do that at this page as well. And as you can see, I just put a brief summary about who I am and my role. You can feel free to do the same. When you log in, as early as this afternoon after this call, you'll find there are already 5 courses that have been produced specifically by the Salvation Army that will be available to you. These include the Salvation Army 101 that was mentioned earlier. We have Recruiting for Engagement. That is a very rich curriculum. It has a number of videos that will be a part of that. We have parts 1 and 2 up right now, and the rest of them will be released in the coming weeks. Number 3 is diversity, equity, and inclusion, an introduction for advisory organizations. Engaging and challenging advisory boards is number 4. And then number 5 is essential steps for echelon success. All of these courses were developed by Salvation Army officers or staff members or advisory organization members that have direct experience. And we're very, very excited about these courses. We hope you will enjoy them and give us feedback. We are already working on the next couple rounds of courses. We do plan to have a new batch coming every few months or so, so keep an eye out. But this is what you'll be able to find available to you today. All of the courses have been intentionally designed to be very easy for you to fit into your routines and your schedules. We know everyone is very busy and has a lot going on. The courses themselves or the course segments are all less than 30 minutes. A lot of them, if they're a bit longer, are broken up into smaller videos, and you can do, parts 1 and 2 of the course. And if you need to come back the next day, it'll pick up right where you left off and you'll be able to keep going. So it's all on demand and available as your schedule permits. If you want to find some of these courses, this is again that learner homepage that you'll see when you log in. You'll see there is a featured section. And when you log in this afternoon after you create your account, you'll already see these 5 courses I've just mentioned included in that featured section. On my page here, it's only showing 2. That's because I already started the other 3. And so it moved them into my continue learning section. But the first time you log in, you'll see them there in that featured section until you begin and complete those courses. You'll also see there's a suggested area. Those are courses from the larger Cornerstone library that may be of interest to you. So let's talk about how to open a course. As you can see, I'm back on my learner homepage. Under that continue learning section, I've decided I'm going to start with essential steps to echelon success. One thing to remember is there's a couple of different formats that courses can take. So this one that I'm going to talk about, the echelon one, is just a video. The whole course is one video. And so it's pretty easy to open. We'll go through it. Some others are curriculums, which means there's maybe multiple videos or additional resources included, and we'll go through that as well. But for now, essential steps to echelon success, I would just click on the title of that video from my homepage, and it would take me to a screen that looks like this. It has some details about who the instructor is and the purpose of this course. And then on the right, you see there's a couple of options there. Now there's a button that says launch. It's a big blue bar. And you can also see there's a little arrow on the far right side. It looks like one button, but actually there's 2 options here. So if you click the small arrow, you're going to get an option to save this course for later or add it to a playlist. Through your learner account, you can create playlists, either private or public, to kind of save courses in a similar theme or topic area that you may want to come back to later. So if you click on that little arrow on the far right of the blue button, those are the options that are going to be available to you. If you want to actually open the video from this page, you need to click directly on that launch button, the word launch, the other part of that blue bar, and that will take you to the video itself. And then you would just press play like you would on YouTube or any other video player, and the course would start, and you can enjoy it. And make sure when you're done to leave a rating so we can keep track of your feedback and improve in the future. So as I mentioned, that was for just a single video course. Some courses are what we call in Cornerstone curriculums. So recruiting for engagement is an example of that. If I click on that curriculum, I'm going to be brought to a very similar page as we just were with the echelon course. It has the details about what the course is about, who's teaching it, the title, but you'll also see that content section. And that's going to give you an overview of how many videos are in this course. Are there additional resources, maybe printable resources or a slide deck that's also available? And just as we did with the other one, you're going to want to make sure to click open curriculum, the words on that blue bar, not the small arrow, unless you're just looking to save or add it to a playlist. But if you click open curriculum, it'll take you to a page that looks like this. You can see on the left, there's a breakdown of what's included in this curriculum. So this one has 2 sections. The first section is the course videos, and the second section is supplemental resources. What's important to remember here when you're looking at a curriculum, you have to complete each section before you can move on to the next one. So you would need to complete all of the videos in this curriculum before you could move to that supplemental resources section. So to open a video, you would click View Details. You can click Activate, and then you're going to have to click one more time. It's going to go from Activate to Launch, and then you can click Launch, and it'll pop up that video right in the same screen, the same window, and you can click play and enjoy the video. Once you're done, you can mark it complete. And once you get through all of those videos, you'll be able to see that progress. As you can see now, the course video section, I have a small check mark there on the left, and that is now letting me go to the supplemental resources section. So these resources are actually documents that the instructor has submitted along with the course. So I would click Activate for this first one, and then it just pops up the download. This is a slide deck that I can then download and save and view as I want. I could take it to my AO meeting and share it with them to go over some of the key points of this course, or whatever I want to do with it. But the same steps, clicking Activate and then Launch, and you'll be able to get those resources as well. As I mentioned earlier, you can use this search bar to look for courses. You'll be able to see all the courses that the Salvation Army has produced and uploaded, but you'll also be able to view Cornerstone's extensive course library. So as an example, if I search for the word leadership, I just want to find courses about leadership. You can see that it takes me to over 100 results on courses for leadership in different languages. On the left, there are filters. So if I wanted to look for only courses that are under 20 minutes, or courses that have a 4-star rating or higher, or maybe I wanted to find a course that was particularly produced by TED Talks or some other company that I'm aware of, I can filter for all of those things and do a more advanced search. Anytime you complete a training, we ask that you please rate the training. It's a pretty simple 5-star system. You've probably seen this other places. You can just submit your star rating and then also additional comments if you have any. We really appreciate your feedback as we continue to develop this new portal. Just a note on feedback, we also, as you guys are the first users for this platform, you've been selected by your territories. In a couple of weeks, we're going to send out a fuller survey, a survey monkey to you via email to ask for some more in-depth feedback from you as we're getting this really fine-tuned as we launch this new national platform. So we hope that you'll be willing to share your feedback with us so we can use it moving forward. We can go into questions now. I don't know if there are any in the Q&A. Any initial questions on the tutorial? So let's see.
There's been a couple that
There's
come
a
in.
few.
Yeah, so one is, are we able to use Lead Learning on mobile devices?
Yes, I know that the Cornerstone Learning Management System is mobile friendly, and I believe the courses we've uploaded have all been checked to be mobile friendly. That's one of those things that we'd love for you to give us feedback on. If there's anything that seems off with that, please let us know for formatting purposes. But yes, you should be able to utilize these on your phone as well as on desktop. How is my essay board different than Lead Learning? Will my essay board be discontinued? My essay board has not been discontinued at this time. As you know, my essay board has a lot of great resources, handbooks, and documents. What Cornerstone and Lead Learning allows us to do is really develop rich video courses that are on demand, kind of just a different experience as we look at where a lot of training is going into the virtual e-learning space. It's just a more, it's a system that gives us a lot more options. It's a lot more dynamic than my essay board. But right now you can still find those handbooks and manuals and some of the best practice materials on my essay board as well. Are there any other questions? This project is, is it okay if we test some of the courses with the local advisory board? Yes, please. We encourage and invite you to share this with your AO members, both the chair of your advisory organization as well as the whole membership. And that's who this platform is really being created for. So please invite your advisory organization members to join the platform and take the courses and provide their feedback as well. This project is being funded through national headquarters, supported by the National Advisory Board and funds that are specifically designated for advisory board development. All right, well, if there aren't any other immediate questions, is there a question in the chat? No.
Is there a timeline to have specific areas?
We would love for you to do the first 5 courses in the next 2 months or so. Our hope is that we can get feedback before the true craziness of Christmas and the Salvation Army kicks in just a couple of months. So we'd love to see if you could get your initial feedback to us in probably by the end of September, early October timeline. To avoid multiple websites, will my SA board be brought into this platform? That is definitely something we are talking about. We're talking through what that would mean and what that would look like. We do plan to get the resources that are currently on my SA board also available on Cornerstone in the very near future. But for right now, we will maintain my SA board, but we'll keep you updated as that develops. As there is not a set timeline for rollout to all AOs right now. Like I said, we're trying to get this initial round of first users feedback in the next 2 months. And then once we make sure there are no major issues there, we'll be looking to expand and roll it out to the larger AO population in the country. All right, if there are no other questions, I am gonna ask you all one more question. We have one final poll question, and I know you're still getting into the platform, you gotta check it out, but we'd like to know, what is a future course topic you would be interested in seeing on Lead Learning for your advisory organization? We have a couple of options for you. So one is how advisory organization members can support social services from the Salvation Army. One is running effective board meetings. One is increasing your AO's fundraising capacity. And the final one is strategic planning for advisory organizations. So it looks like we've got interest in all 4, which is great, but AO fundraising capacity and strategic planning are winning out. So we will make note of that and make sure that we put those courses on deck for future development. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, if there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, or as you can see on the screen, email lms@usn.salvationarmy.org. We have recorded this call, and that will be available on the Lead Learning platform, and we will send out a link to you as well. So if you want to share this with your advisory organization members who weren't able to join today, please do so. We will get all the information out to you. All right, Commissioner, I'm going to turn it over to you to close us out.
Katie, thank you so much for that outstanding explanation of the platform. I think Mike Castling put it best when he said this is going to be a game changer. If we're going to meet our goal of a strong, engaged advisory organization at every Salvation Army unit across the country by 2022, we want to make sure that the Lead Learning platform is at its best. And I want to thank you for all that you and your team have done to develop it. Friends, I also want to express my appreciation to Mike Castling, our National Advisory Board Chair, to Bob Smith, the Chair of the Advisory Organization Development Committee, for their hard work and inspirational leadership. And finally, thank you to you. Thank you for the support that you give to the Salvation Army in your community. Together, we can preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and meet human needs in His name without discrimination. Thank you, and God bless you.